welcome everyone to Smile Through the Fire podcast. It's your boy, your host, Wilmer P. Joseph. I'm excited today to give you our first guest today. Wonderful human being, very honest person. Met this brother a few years ago, and I like what he stands for. I like the fact that he is very resilient, and that's what this podcast is about. And he's very upfront, and he's willing to create change in our community in Stamford, Connecticut. Excited to have him on the show. Can't wait till we introduce him. Smile Through the Podcast is a podcast to bring forward stories of those who've been through traumas, entrepreneurs in the trenches, parents, poets, and everyday hustlers, and people who want to share their stories and let them know that their vision and their stories and their voice matters to us on this podcast. And I got my co-host, my brother Max, on here. So guys, let me introduce you to Fritz, Chery from Stamford, Connecticut. My boy Fritz. I'm happy to have you on this podcast, my Haitian brother. You know what I mean? Gotta shout that out. Let's just get straight to it, man. Let's not waste no time. Who is Fritz?
Well, first of all, again, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, but more importantly, thank you for allowing individuals to share their voice.
Absolutely.
I know I'm not the first. I'm certainly not going to be the last. So I'm encouraging this, and I hope that more people will take the opportunity to come out and ensure that their voice is being heard.
Absolutely.
So my name is Fritz Chery, and I am a candidate for mayor here in the city of Stamford, Connecticut. I was born and raised here in the city of Stamford, went through the public school system, and I love to tell everybody I had some pretty amazing teachers and mentors that sewed into me, that helped me become the individual that I am today. I played football at Stamford High. I was also in the marching band. So imagine taking off your football pads and you're out there doing your little drumline thing. Then you put your pads back on and go out there. I was in the drama club, and I had an instructor that always taught me to stand front and center on stage and enunciate and pronunciate. And these are all lessons that I'm using even today. Mm-hmm. So anytime somebody tries to dog the Stamford public schools, I'm like, come on. There are plenty of people who came through our schools and are very successful today.
Absolutely.
And that's why, later on in life, I thought it was an honor, and I know it was an honor to be able to go and become an elected board member and help all of our schools in Stamford. So I graduated from high school, go to the University of Connecticut, study political science. I've always been fascinated with history, studying people like Shirley Chisholm, Medgar Evers, individuals who were not afraid to stand up and speak for their communities. And that's what I just was passionate about and loved. So I went and studied that in school. Recently got my MBA from the University of Bridgeport. And for the last 15 years, I've been immersed in commercial real estate and real estate overall. So helping individuals launch their new businesses. That's probably one of the best things that I've enjoyed doing in the last 10 years. Individuals who come with an idea and it starts on paper and you're putting your business plan together, and next thing you know, you have a ribbon cutting and your business is open. And I was so proud to be part of that process. So that's a little bit about my work experience and how I was brought up here. But today we're at a point where I know that people are looking for other options, especially when it comes to individuals who are going to hear about their concerns. Realistically, we have right now people in Stamford who do not know that a year from now, the apartment complex that they are living in is going to be no more. And we have apartments in Stamford that are asking $10,000 a month for a 2-bedroom, not knowing that forces the rent across the entire city. So when people say, I can no longer afford to live in the city that I was born and raised in, I have a problem with that. And I've reached a point where I have come to the conclusion, and if you take away anything from what I'm gonna say today on this podcast, if people do not come together now, whether it's run for Board of Education to protect our children, run for zoning board, planning board to decide of the properties in Stamford and where we live, if people do not come together right now, then they will be wiped from the city of Stamford.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, and this podcast is going to be very interesting because there's so much to really dissect, right? And from what I'm hearing that, you're a multitasker, which I really, really like the fact, because I'm the same way. But how you being a multitask person, from taking off your pads, being on the drum line, doing all these different things, how did that pretty much come into your life now? Like, how are you able to multitask what you do now? And what in your heart and your mind believe that if you become the next mayor of Stamford, Connecticut, that you can handle all the tasks and multitask from being, from that to now? Like, because I'm glad you mentioned that, because what's more important is that, I say this all the time on every platform that I'm on when I'm speaking to kids or adults, is that if we don't come together, because we're already behind in a lot, but I always say we have to be at the table, right? If not, we become the menu. And I have this shirt on today, so it happens to have that t-shirt on, right? So I want you to really let the public know how important it is to be able to get on these seats. Because some people don't know how. Some people may want to, but don't know how. I want you to educate us, but tell us and to empower us and encourage us to get involved. If not, we're gonna be the menu on the table.
So to answer your first question in regards to being able to multitask, I can honestly say that I am of the people, and Stamford does things where you'll talk about the diversity in the city, but what does that mean? Stamford was one of the rare cities that, yes, you could be a star football player and be in the marching band. And this city has prepared, even the young people that are in schools right now, they are preparing you for what you're going to see out in the real world. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Muslim, Christian, whatever it is, because there's so much diversity, you're able to not just wear one hat, but multiple hats. There are individuals in some of the neighboring towns who don't want to raise their children in those environments. Sure, they may have great test scores and their numbers are here and whatever statistic you want to use, but they're like, but that's not preparing those young people for the real world. So I am a product of that diverse city. So I'm the result of that. So that has prepared me to be able to come today to, yes, I can have different hats and still push forward, whereas other individuals, they're just going down one lane. So that was your first question. The second question in regards to my statement, if we do not come together now, and I just mentioned Shirley Chisholm. And for those who don't know, Shirley Chisholm was the first Black woman to make a serious push for president in the United States in the 70s, around a time when, again, people were being killed just to fight for their right to vote. Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite quotes of Shirley Chisholm is, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring your folding chair. Because sometimes you're gonna have to force yourself to go into that position. And sometimes the community is not gonna be behind you. It's easy when you've got a large group of people behind you be like, hey, we demand change. But sometimes you gotta have your folding chair in your arm and go and place the chair there and sit down by yourself. And sometimes that's what's gonna encourage other people to take action. So yes, individuals don't know that when you're going to a school and you have an issue, maybe it's a serious problem with the principal, there are policies that govern that school. You having a back and forth with the principal may or may not generate a result. Mm-hmm. But if there are no policies in place to protect your child, so you can advocate all you want, but that's not going to change the system. Only 9 individuals in the city of Stamford, 9 elected officials, every November, 3 seats are up. Those are the individuals that can change policy, that can terminate administrators, that can make these massive decisions. And I've said before, and I'll say it again right now, you can have all the rallies you want. You can go and protest in front of the government center. You can have marches. And I'm not discrediting that. I'm not. But if you don't have individuals in positions of power and elected seats in the office, that's all it will end up being. Great turnout. People had the signs. We were on the news, but the law didn't change. The policy didn't change. That individual wasn't held accountable, reprimanded, and I know you know about the 14-year-old girl that was arrested at West Hill. accused of assaulting an administrator, somebody that we not only entrust to protect our children, but this should be a leader. This should be someone that children go to when they do not feel safe. This was the opposite. This individual made a blatant lie against a 14-year-old within her first 2 weeks as a freshman in high school. And a year later, to this day, zero action has been taken in regards to making a false statement against the child. The child was arrested, issued a summons, suspended from school. And what the newspapers and all these the documents don't show is the nightmares, the lack of now self-esteem, the fear that individuals are constantly out to get this child. That's it. That experience right now has been cemented in this person's life and will stay with them for the rest of their life. But more importantly, the city of Stamford has now sent a message that this child's life doesn't matter.
But from experience, right? I'm going to share my experience really quick, similar to this young girl, 14-year-old girl. So when I was 15 years old, I was wrongfully accused and arrested at West Hill High School. Okay. Right? So obviously it continued, right? Nothing has changed but the administrator.
What year was that?
This was in 96. 97, 96, 97.
Okay, 30 years later, the same thing
happens, right? But that time I didn't have an advocate. You stepped up, a couple of us stepped up to rally and to bring awareness to this. So obviously nothing has changed. This same administrator is still in position to still assist and be a leader at this school. So what I'm saying to you is that I was wrongfully arrested because I was accused of being a drug dealer. I was not a drug dealer. They strip searched me in West Hill in the office, handcuffed me to a file cabinet, violated my rights as a 16-year-old, didn't get my mom permission to strip search me, none of that, none of the above. I was arrested, you know what I mean, went to court, I was expelled, all this thing. And I don't know if you remember, you heard of Haitian Amelia, he's one of my tutors when I got kicked out of school in the library. So what I'm saying to you, the trauma still to this day, 30 years later, still bothers me because I didn't have any support, I didn't have any therapy. There was even no solution or answer behind what happened to me. I just held on to that trauma. I've hated police officers ever since. I've always had issues with police officers because I felt like being a black and brown young man in the school who was falsely accused because the people I may be associated with or the neighborhood I grew up in, I was just probably looked at as maybe I might be a drug dealer. Not realizing that my mom spoiled me as a kid. I got what I wanted. And so what I'm asking you is like, we need to create change because we can't have 30 years later after this, the same things continuing with other leaders. So we need to encourage parents and community members, like you said, seats have to change. We need, it doesn't even have to be a black person or Hispanic, someone who really has an understanding and experience to want to see change and that's fair all across the board.
Of course, and again, like you just mentioned, we came together. So you brought your people, I brought my people. We had a rally in front of the government center. The next, we had almost 150 people out there.
I don't think they've ever seen that before.
The next day, they issued a public apology. And we're talking about at that point, it was 10 months later.
Yeah.
So, but the only reason that happened is because we came together. So that's what I'm saying. If we do not come together now, again, 10 years from now, we won't have individuals who will be able to garner the votes necessary to put people in those positions. Because at that point, it's going to be like, all right, let's get everybody together. Who's left? That group is gone. That group is gone. This church closed down. That nonprofit is not around anymore. People shifted up north to Bridgeport and New Haven. So who you're going to be standing there wondering, well, who's going to fight for me? I mean, you had an opportunity to fight before with your vote. But unfortunately, we're at a point where if individuals are not taking the time to learn about candidates, if individuals are just going to the polls and voting a party, oh, I'm gonna vote this party because this group is what I'm about. Why? You know, are you able to get the jobs that you want here in the city? Are your children being well respected and treated and create an environment where they're safe? Are your neighborhoods being clean? I mean, very, very simply, there are neighborhoods that the streets haven't been cleaned in We'll say months, but it's been years. I'll say months right now, but it's been years since those neighborhoods have been cleaned.
That is true.
Other neighborhoods, and I'm not gonna lie, I live in some other neighborhoods, they're cleaned on the regular. So I know that this is happening, it's just not happening in that end. So everything doesn't need to be this, take a march, but like simple things like being able to send your resume for a city position and know that somebody's gonna review. You're overqualified, but you can't even get a phone call. That's what I'm talking about. If you don't step up and act now, not everything is going to be a march and something it could be as simple as, are we getting jobs? Are we able to keep our communities clean? We're not looking for, we simply want to have communities where we can live respectably and be proud of where we live.
Absolutely.
We want to be able to have apartments and condos that we can afford, and that's not a stretch. You can't, and I'm not saying you need to have lived in the city for 20, 30 years. There are people who came here from New York or wherever, and they've been here now for 5 years that are paying taxes and contributing to the society and the city. Yeah, help those individuals. They are part of our community now. And as I said, if we don't come together now, soon you're going to be standing by yourself wondering what happened. Who's going to help me now?
I think that I like the tagline, come together. You need to put that as one of your campaigns on t-shirts. Let's come together. Unity, man, unity. I mean, we can't say it enough, man. I mean, you know me very well. I'm always stressing that a lot about unity, peace, and love within the community. I always push back and say Stanford, but it's not Stanford. Stanford is a beautiful city. I just think it's the people who live in the city that give Stanford a bad rap. And I think it's needed change, and I think we need to change the mindset of that, right? And we can't keep promoting diversity when they're not bringing us to the table to make everything equal for everyone else and fair, right? When we talk about, since we get into politics, when we talk about contracts that are being out, right? Construction, plumbing, engineering, they don't necessarily hire Black business owners who own a construction company or a transportation company or engineering company, plumbing company. It's like, why does it keep circling back to the same last names, right? We know Stanford is empowered by all these last names in Stanford. We know what it is, but it has to change. And my question to you is, how do you see that changing if you are in the mayor's seat? Because I believe you have a chance of winning, even though your name is not on the ballot, right? But I think you have a chance of winning because I think people are ready for change. I think people are ready for equality. People are ready for just to see a different taste, right? A different taste in when someone speaks. Because I think we need someone to really speak for everybody, not just one genre of a culture or a city or the side of a town. Right, so we want someone to speak for everybody. So how do you see yourself, if you're in this position, what do you see yourself who people don't believe that you can really execute that position?
Okay, so even before I get into why, what I'll bring to the table, let's first start with what kind of a candidate I am, and let's break it down. I am a write-in candidate. So what that means is my name is not going to be on the ballot. Why is my name on the ballot? We're going to get to that in just a second. But first, I want to clearly, make sure that everyone understands. Listen, you're ready to put your voice out there. You're ready to use your vote. Register to vote. You're watching this video right now. All you need is your driver's license. You can either go to the government center or you can simply just type voter registration on Google. It takes less than 5 minutes, and that's it. Your driver's license, you're a U.S. citizen, you can go ahead and vote. You were born in this country or your parents became a citizen, and which makes you a citizen, you can vote in this election. It's as simply as that. Register to vote. When you get to the poll and you see you show your license, they give you the ballot. You're gonna see a bunch of names on there. Under the first column, and mayor's gonna be the first column, you're gonna see Republican, you're gonna see Democrat, you're gonna see independent, and then you're gonna see an area where it says write in, and you have to fill in the bubble. You fill in the bubble, and that tells the computer that you're going to write someone's name in. If you don't fill in the bubble and you write the person's name in, the vote doesn't count. So it's very important that everyone understands that portion of it. That's that. That is how you can, if you wanted to support me, by all means, if you're voting for somebody else, it's a free country. You can vote for whoever is going to help you out moving forward. Or if they already have helped you out, good for them, good for you. So that's how you can vote for me in this election coming up. Normally, and even now I just mentioned, you're gonna see there's a name for Republican. That candidate is Nicola Tarzia. You're gonna see a candidate for the Democrat Party. That candidate is the current Mayor Caroline Simmons. Initially, I wanted to go and receive the independent endorsement. I felt, there are individuals who are not about party politics and party lines. They have specific issues that they want to address. So I believe that individuals were looking for another option here in the city of Stamford. Therefore, I decided to seek the independent endorsement. I'm still a registered Democrat, but I wanted to ensure that families had a third option. The independent party decided to also endorse Mayor Caroline Simmons. So that is why you will not see my name on the ballot, and you will see Mayor Caroline Simmons' name twice.
Interesting.
Now, most people will say, oh, the election is over, Fritz, give up, don't bother anymore. But as I said, if we don't come together now, then we're going to be driven out of this city. There's not going to be many opportunities in the near future to voice your concerns and have action taken as a result of it. So in this election, you will see a name twice, and that is why you will not see my name. That's another conversation in itself. Again, we're talking about diversity. We're talking about ensuring that everybody's voice is being heard. Even me, my voice was not given an opportunity to be clear on the ballot. So you can only imagine what other residents are going through in this city. That is why I believe right off the bat, I can tell individuals when it's a matter of time. Let me just go ahead and put it out there. It's only a matter of time until I am the mayor of the city. I'm proud to report. Listen, I'm proud to report this is just the beginning. As long as God allows me to still be here in the future and there's still air in my lungs, this is not the last time you're going to see that Fritz is vying for mayor of the city. So to better answer your question, when I am mayor in the city of Stamford, to say that you are listening to residents is one thing, but you need to be able to clearly create those avenues where individuals can come and share those concerns. And that can be open forums, and we've done that already. And you and I we've created opportunities where we're like, you know what? Let's meet with the police department. Let's meet with individuals who have questions about our schools. And there are times where elected officials try and do that and the turnout is not that good, but you give it to somebody like you, a community leader, individuals are watching your social media and pages. Yes, that's how you get 50, 60 people to show up when normally you get 2 or 3. So that has to be created where individuals can come and voice those concerns. But every time somebody comes to me and says, hey, listen, they're knocking down my building right now, I have to move. It's not fair. A lot of times, first I'm like, first of all, are you okay? Like, do you know where you're gonna go? Like, let's first be real. Like, somebody's coming to you with a real concern. It's not like, well, come election day, we'll be like, this person's about to be homeless. Bro, like, I can't wait to November. We gotta start addressing some of these things now.
Yes.
And we have a situation where people are being asked to leave their home right now. So as a community, we can come together and be like, hey, where are these people gonna go? And if there's no solution there, and you're an elected official, then again, why would we continue to support a candidate like that? So, right off the bat, you're saying, well, what will I be able to do as mayor? Create more opportunities where people have direct conversation with leadership. And we're not just talking about mayor. So let's be clear. I will be a mayor that allows you to know what opportunities you need to go to the building department, the zoning department, who these entities even are. These are appointed officials that are appointed by the mayor's office. These are individuals that need to make time to answer your questions, not just sit in an office collecting a check. And I'm not saying that that's all they do. So let me not disrespect those individuals, but they need to make sure that these individuals are not I don't want to even say hiding behind closed doors, but we need to know the names of the people on these boards and commissions so that when you have a concern, Joe Schmo is exactly who's responsible for that. That's under the mayor's cabinet. Let's set up, even if it's once a week at a set time, that person's office is open. I will ensure, as mayor, that there's transparency and an opportunity for people like you and me to walk into the government center and have clear conversations with these individuals. That must be established. That's what we're talking about when we talk about transparency. And it can't just always be listening to concerns. Okay, great. We have a bunch of open forums. I'm mayor, we do a bunch of open forums, so what? Okay, now we've heard the concerns, what comes next? The next opportunity, the next, and I can say promise that I would bring is we also want to be sure to educate and empower individuals so that either you can take care of it yourself, or you have the tools to run for office, or you have the resources that you need. And if we can't give you those resources right now, when can we? Again, some of the individuals who are the most disappointed about our schools, who are furious with what's happening with our children, don't you think they would make amazing candidates for the Board of Education?
Absolutely.
There's no rule that says you need to have a degree in a doctor's degree in education. Now, granted, it would be great if you have experience working with young people, but you could be, an accountant for a Fortune 500 company and be a perfect candidate to come and take a look at our books in our school district, and you provide that feedback. So I want to be the type of mayor to have conversations with individuals and help them succeed. And this is not a blanket statement. I'm not saying that I'm going to look at every single person and have a job ready for them. But if an individual comes to me and says, here are my concerns, I will do my best to go ahead and attack that. But now what can you do with me so that we can ensure this doesn't happen to others? Which goes back to if we don't come together, it's not just about taking care of it for you today, because today you're here and you're coming to the mayor because your house is on fire. Okay, we're gonna go out, we're gonna put out that fire. The next day, 7 other houses are on fire on the block, but we don't see you, we don't know where you are. And that's why their houses are now on fire, because who was able to address that? Which comes back to, we gotta come together. So I wanna be the type of mayor that empowers individuals on an individual basis so that we can create leaders to go back to the communities and say, okay, hey, listen, you're at this church. From now on, you represent your church at the Board of Ed meeting every month. So Wilner, every single month, and if you can't make it, find somebody to make it. And then once a month you come to this church and you're gonna provide us an update as to what happened. So now the church is aware of what's going on. Fire commission, the fire department, the police department. Again, as mayor, I will ensure there's a transparency within that department. And whether it's a monthly meeting, again, I'm going to my NAACP, churches, nonprofits, Islamic Center, send your reps. These are individuals who can have direct communication with the mayor, but we want to ensure that those individuals are coming to these set meetings and they're bringing it back to their communities. Now, 9 months in advance that they're thinking about knocking down the complex that you live in, and now you can actually create change and go to the meetings and voice your opinions. But right now, it's been confirmed. The St. John's Towers are going down.
Enough is enough. These are human beings being, ran down and tasered and ripped from their homes. Like, eventually, guys, just because it's not affecting us doesn't mean it's not our problem. Even with gun violence, when I stand up and fight for awareness of gun violence prevention, be like, oh, it's not my problem. Until somebody else, niece and nephew or mother shot, my phone rings. Oh, Wilner, we need you to rally up. Oh, now you need me. Now it's your problem. So it's like, guys, don't wait till it's your problem to stand up and fight. We all have to come together. And it's not about just black people. Everybody has to come together, because if you're a human being, it should be everybody's problem.
And that's why I said now at least 10, 20 times, if we do not come together now, you will eventually be standing by yourself in a moment of need, wondering where everyone is. Who can come help me now? So, again, we can't pick and choose which. You said it. You said it perfectly, and not to take away anything that's happening in Ukraine, but I had to reach out to elected officials to say the Haitian president was just assassinated. Is anyone gonna
say anything?
A couple of days later, we got a statement, but even that, I had to come and say something. Because Haitian Creole is the third most spoken language in the city of Stanford. That should be an automatic to say, hey, listen, we know there are Haitians. And you said right now, there are individuals going through this with ICE of Hispanic, the culture, people who speak Spanish, for now. But in February, when the TPS program is removed for all Haitians who came here, then ICE is gonna be coming after people that look like you and me.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you're Haitian or not, but they're coming after people that look like you too. They're not gonna ask questions. So let's be clear here. Let's be clear. Eventually they will be coming after people that look like us. And again, we can't be waiting until the next house is on fire, this and that. This is where those conversations need to happen. And people are. And even about, and listen, people have different views about ICE and illegal immigrants in this country. Listen, we don't want to see ICE agents in our schools. I think everybody can agree to that.
Absolutely.
Watching ICE agents go into our schools, come on. I personally don't know anybody who's okay.
And go into our courtrooms.
And even the Governor Lamont, last week commented on that. You're not going into our courtrooms. And again, and it doesn't matter if somebody's there to see their immigration attorney or something, like, you're not going in our courtrooms where whether it's people are required to be there for a court date or whatever, and you're not going in our schools. That is progress. That's more than what was said recently. And how does that happen? Well, like we said, people step up, you making phone calls, pick up the phone. Call. If their administrators are seeing 50 emails and a bunch of voice messages, I think after a while, they're gonna have to either not just issue a statement, but do something about it. And they were able to do that. And they can confidently say today, ICE is not going in our schools. ICE is not going in our courthouses. What else? Where else? And if you want to have the argument about illegal versus, let's have the conversation. But at the very least, do something. Do something.
I appreciate this, man. I mean, I think these conversations are needed to have, and I'm happy that you're on this podcast today. I really appreciate you being here. Before we wrap up, we got a few questions. I know my co-host Max.
Fire away.
I know, fire away, man. Let's keep this nice and short, and let's get to some of the questions that we want to ask Mr. Fritz today.
Without going too much into the details, what's one proposal or one thing that you have in mind once you become mayor that you feel will help to bring not only the community together, but forward?
So what idea do I have to bring the community together specifically?
Together and forward in terms of economic progress.
I mentioned already the transparency, creating the avenue where specific groups have direct access. And I must credit Mayor Simmons already. She has opened up departments like the building department, zoning, and like for people who are opening businesses or trying to get a permit for the first time in history. Every Wednesday at 8:30, you don't need an appointment. You can walk into the government center and meet with those individuals. So we can build on that, okay? So it's if you need a permit or if you need something official, great. But for some of these other topics that we're talking about, that's what we want. So I have to give credit where credit is due. We can go a step further. So just in regards to transparency, that's a definite plan. Outside of that, and let me just throw this in, a very clear plan for affordable housing. Right now, if an apartment complex is gonna open, like whatever's gonna be opening at where the St. John's Towers is gonna be, it's coming. Right now, they're supposed to put a specific percentage of units in the building for affordable housing. So let's just say if it was 300 new apartments, they would put 30 units aside. I don't know if that's the best option right now. Now, we all know that waiting list is a nightmare. If they ever call you, honestly, I've never seen somebody that I know get accepted into these. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I've never seen somebody actually get in with one of these programs. So I don't know if that's really the best avenue. But there's also the fee in lieu option for these developers where if that 30 units is there, they can also just cut a check. It could be $3-5 million, and they say they're not going to do the units, but they're going to put $5 million in the Affordable Housing Fund. That money is there right now. I couldn't tell you exactly how much is in there, but it's in the high millions. Right off the bat, we need to start creating new, complete, affordable units in the city. How do we replace the St. John's Tower that is going to be there? How do we replace the units that were at Merle Ave? And across the city? Again, that number has declined. We can say whatever we want. We can renovate existing units, but that's not increasing our number. So right off the bat, I want to have a clear plan to create. Right now, my number is 1,000 units. If I can create 1,000 new apartments over my 4 years, using the money that's already sitting there, it can only go towards affordable housing units. But there's no time limit restriction on there, and there's nothing to say that I can't go and build a complex with 100 apartments right now using that money. So right now, that's the plan.
Here's another thing I would like to ask you, right? Because someone like myself and you know, we have businesses, entrepreneurs. I run a nonprofit youth program in Stanford. You know, working my way up the line of different cities to support other communities. But you know, my heart lies in Stanford, right? So there's a huge problem. They're getting rid of a lot of our community centers. Latham Wilder is no longer, right? The Yearwood Center is now ran by like local nonprofits. Glenbrook Community Center.
Yeah,
so how do you position yourself to bring back the essence of those things that used to save our kids from violence, save our kids out, you know, helping our parents who work these jobs? So my thing is, that's one of my struggles, right? I'm dealing with now. I don't have any space to operate consistently to run my programs effectively to help these kids who are struggling with education, struggling with violence, emotions, everything that plays a big part. And then the promises, oh, we have all these vacant buildings, or schools are not operating after certain hours that are just sitting there that can be utilized with other nonprofits in the area of not just myself, other people that can utilize those spaces, but they don't want to open it up. And it's like, what's the issue here? Why we're not focusing on
I got your answer.
Investing into our future?
I got your answer, Wilner. And I've already said this to you clearly now a few times. Everything is intentional. Everything that happens in our city is intentional. If I tell you right now, as mayor, I will reopen those programs, it's going to happen. Do you understand me? Mm-hmm. I will appoint individuals to the planning board, to the zoning board, so that the priority, and it's top down. I told you it's always top down. If our priority is to reopen these centers, and not just reopen, let's put a line item in, because the mayor has access to the city's budget, and there are channels there, but it always is top down. Let's renovate the Glenbrook Community Center. Let's let's find a new operator, because right now the city of Stanford, technically, I think the rent for the Yearwood Center is like $1 something like this. It's a city property right now.
City property, yeah.
So let's again find ways to get a new operator. Again, maybe to have a competition or something. Like if you own a nonprofit, that's top down. Mm-hmm. That's always going to be from the mayor's office down. So it's intentional. If I intentionally want to bring back these programs, then I will. And there will not be roadblocks. You can build these massive apartment complex structures. You can find some funds to reinvest in our communities. And you don't have to sell me on the importance of after school programs and science clubs. Like again, I'm from the community. I experienced those programs myself as a kid. So it's one of those things where it's like, if I'm in office, like you can say in the speech, like, let's find the money, let's find the operators, and let's get this rolling, because we're intentionally looking to accomplish this goal. I'm not gonna be sitting there talking about after election day, oh, well, do we need 3 community centers? Like, do we really need all of these basketball courts? So
why do you think it's an issue when I hear, they don't need that many community centers because it costs the city? Is that true? And from your experience, who've developed successful businesses, right? What advice would you give someone like myself who runs a nonprofit who's trying to get into those spaces? Because parents email me all the time, hey, well, no, I seen the space over, maybe you could utilize it. I'm like, well, I ain't got that much money to invest into. Like, so somebody emailed me the other day, hey, Stop and Shop is shut down. What do you think the city's gonna do with that area? It should be a development for a community center or a hub for people in the area to be able to utilize.
Listen, and that's why, again, I'm saying it, if we already, when I'm mayor, I'm already gonna have that transparency piece covered. I already said that. You're gonna have opportunities to come and clearly talk to people in positions of power to say, this center should be this. So I've already said that's gonna be, we've already created that. I've said that now 3 times. So yes, when those individuals can come and say, here's an idea that we have, or we wanna see this, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I didn't know, I didn't see. It's okay. 20,000 people believe that this, like, again, sometimes you could just have some fun with these things. What should it be? Let's do a contest. Let's get the high schoolers involved. Let's do a competition and say, hey, what would you do with this space? Now you got the community behind it. Now you got stakeholders. You really think it's gonna be impossible for us to pull 2 million, 3 million? Because what I haven't told you about is the surplus. Did you know there was a surplus for $34 million in Stanford?
No, I didn't know that.
Did you get the refund check in regards to paying too much taxes?
No.
So when I tell you the money's there, the money's there. And again, that's what I'm talking about. We got to educate a couple people too. Like, stop thinking nobody.
No,
let me put it to you. Let me put it to you this way: the city ain't broke. Let me put it to you that way.
I know the
In
city.
terms that you understand, the city ain't broke.
I know.
You want to renovate that center? We can find the money to renovate that center. You want to reactivate this program? I'll tell you exactly right now where you can find that. Where it is on this page, on this file. Here's where you can find it. So let's be real. It has to be intentional. It's always going to be that. People will push their agendas forward. We see that nationally. We see that with the current president. When you're in that position, it's here's what it's going to be, and who's going to help me get there. So let's be clear. When I am mayor, I'm putting everything in front of everyone. Here's affordable housing. Here's how we can get people jobs. We haven't even talked about first-time home buyer programs. We haven't talked about individuals. Again, the number one complaint that I continue and I will always bring up is I send my application for a city job and I never get a phone call. And that's the second time I've said that since I was.
I've been hearing that for 30 years.
But that's my point. Who's going to start addressing those? We can say this and that and infrastructure and I'm not saying those things are not important. I'm not saying that at all. But we're trying to get people to come out and start running for office. We're trying to get people to get more involved. Stop saying the same speech and thinking that, oh, well, because I'm in this party, I'm gonna get this vote. Why? Why? Has that individual's life improved since you've been in office? I got this and that degree, but I'm making X dollar because I can't get the job that I want.
And that's something that breaks my heart for someone who has 2 beautiful daughters who graduate college, very educated, and they don't live in Stanford. Because they can't afford to live in Stanford. They graduated high school, put sweat and tears into the community of Stanford, and they don't have a job or they can't live in Stanford. That's insane.
And again, but I'm so frustrated with that, Wilner. I'm running for mayor. Like, you need reasons? Like, I'm so tired of this, as you said, BS, that I am so ready to just run for mayor. And this is not a one and done. I've made it abundantly clear. If I had 10 people who knew my name, now 20 people know my name. If there was one person ready to run for Board of Education, we got 5 people ready to run for Board of Education now. So, but it's gonna be a process. But at the end of the day, I'm sure you know what I'm gonna say. If we don't come together right now, literally, just since the pandemic, we've lost thousands of people to this city, but it's not talked about because we got thousands more. So we have 7,000 new apartments coming online in the next couple, it's already approved. And we will lose 7,000, but when they say that group is leaving, but this group is coming and they're buying houses and they're overpaying, and they're paying high taxes and they're opening these businesses that we want in our downtown areas, what argument are you gonna have for the individuals that can't be here anymore?
I mean, one thing I want to say, because this podcast is about the resilience is a new resolution. I have to say this, win or lose, right? You've made an impact, and I'm gonna tell you why. You've encouraged and motivated people who never thought that they can be put in this position. Even though you're not on the ballot, you're still fighting. You're still resilient. You're still consistent to let your peers in the next generation know, you know what, no matter what you're facing, adversity, keep fighting.
Yeah.
If you want change and you love what you're doing and you love your community, you love your city, and you love the things that you believe in, you got to keep fighting. And I must say, like you said earlier, you know, by you just announcing you're running for mayor and everything else, you're encouraging people to run for board of ed. You're encouraging, 5 people know your name, but now 30 people know your name. And when this podcast hit, hundreds of thousands gonna know your name. That's what we're saying right now. Because this podcast is gonna go viral. This is gonna be the #1 podcast, Smile Through the Fire. We are putting that into the universe because we know that we are resilient, we're consistent with what we do, and we will believe in what we do, and we believe that our message, our stories, and our voice matters to the public, and it matters to our families, and it matters to us because God put us in this position. We have a purpose in life. Yeah. We have a gift, and our gift and our purpose to help others, and also to make sure that we share our testimony and bring people to understand that without God, the leadership of God, and the discernment to understand that if you don't allow him to lead your steps, you cannot get nowhere in life, right? And I appreciate you being who you are, and I appreciate you coming on our podcast. And this podcast is open not just for Fritz. We encourage anybody else running for office or whatever you got going on in your city. We encourage you. This is not just for Fritz or anyone else. We're not playing bias or nothing, and we're not eliminating nobody from coming on this platform to share their story or to share your truth. Because again, it's about the people, right? So Fritz is for the people, and we reached out to Fritz, and he didn't hesitate. He said, I'm willing to come on your podcast, and we appreciate that. So we're opening the doors up for anybody else that feel like they want to come on here and be a part of this community podcast, Smile Through the Fire, hosted by my co-host, Max. Fritz, we appreciate you, man. This is a wonderful opportunity. I'm excited. You are our first guest, you know what I mean? And looking forward to plenty more other guests.
I'll be back.
That's going to be coming on this podcast and share their stories, man. We're excited because we feel, that this is going to be the #1 podcast, not just in Connecticut, throughout the world, because we're planting seeds. And that's what this podcast is about. That's what the idea came about, Smile Through the Fire, to let the community know your trauma matters and there's a solution behind everything, right? We're not on here just to exploit your story, but we want to find a solution behind your story, and we want the public to know that your story and your voice matters, and we want to continue to spread awareness. We want to continue to spread love and unity and bring people to what? Together. And guys, if you want to share your social media accounts and share websites and what you have going on to make sure our viewers know who you are and follow your journey. And again, win or lose, we're proud of you for just taking this journey and this step and continue to do what you got to do. And be who you are, man, and I'm proud of you. That's all I want to say.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Again, I'm excited to see where this podcast is going to go. I know that you're going to have some great speakers on here in the future, so keep it going. Give those individuals their voice. Again, my name is Fritz Chery. You can follow me on my website, Fritz, Fritz, the letter G, and my last name, CHERY.com. Or you can follow me on Instagram, Fritz G. Chery on Instagram. Again, very excited. And if you were encouraged to get more involved in our city, to even run for a public office, then it makes all of this worth it.
Appreciate you, my brother. Make sure y'all follow Smile Through the Fire podcast on Instagram. It's THRU. It's through. That's how we spell it. Smile Through the podcast. Smile Through the Fire on Instagram. Check us out. Make sure you share this when you see it on our Instagram. We're going to have a website soon. Guys, we are excited to launch this episode. My brother Fritz here, brother Max. We love y'all. Continue to fight for peace and unity.
Peace, we out.
Peace, we out.